Well, hello everyone. I'm Maritza Barone and welcome to my podcast, Things You Can't Unhear. Today's guest is one whose story is one of resilience and perseverance. I love sharing stories like these as it makes us be able to see how we can turn life's biggest crises into our most meaningful turning points. Richie Harkham is an entrepreneur founding several businesses. He's 1 out of 9 children born in a beautiful big family and the founder of a registered charity called the Archangel Foundation. Hey, Richie.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being on the show. I've been following your journey from afar for about 6 months now, and I finally had the pleasure of meeting you and seeing you talk on stage at an event a couple of weeks ago. And your story is a real eye-opener. And today I want to share your journey and how you overcame adversity and used it to fuel you to create more good in the world.
Yep. Fantastic.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Now,
I've also been following your journey as well. You've done really well with your podcast.
Thank you
They're
so
awesome.
much. Thank you so much for being part of it. Now, firstly, what was it like growing up in a family of 9 children?
Well, for starters, I never owned anything on my own. And the best part is with 7 boys in the family, if I ever did anything wrong, they could never blame me because I just blamed my other brother. So it's pretty good. I got away with everything.
So there's certainly some perks involved.
Yeah. Yeah. No, growing up with 9 kids was amazing. It taught me some amazing lessons a lot, especially being one of the eldest of 9 kids. So I had 7 kids underneath me. So we all kind of looked after each of our younger brothers or sisters, which is an amazing thing to do. But you learn to share things, which is an amazing quality to have. And the food is like camp food every night. But my mum is amazing. She brought us all up, and my dad was amazing. And I was really fortunate that he would take us. We'd have little adventures all the time together, and shared a room with someone till I was like 19 years old, which you do. So a lot of like fun times, and it's a very close family unit and bond. Yeah, it was normal for us.
It's beautiful. They've obviously, your parents and your family have obviously been huge role models in your life and have helped you to become the person that you are today. But there was a big tipping point in your life where you had a serious motorbike accident, and this really changed a lot of the direction that your life has gone in. Can you talk us through the series of events that happened to you on that day?
Yeah, so it was a really funny day that day. You know, a little bit of context. I was on top of the world before the accident. I was absolutely killing it. I had a great harvest. My businesses were going great. Everything was amazing. And then that morning I'd woken up and I felt a little bit off. And for the first time in my life, I just felt a little bit bored. It's very unusual for me because I'm a very on person all the time. And that day, for some reason, I was like, you know what? I've finished harvest. Everything's going great. I'm going to go overseas to do this and do that. And I was like, oh, it's nothing new. And I just felt off, and I didn't want to go to work that day. And I didn't want to go to gym that day, which is really odd for me. And I just stayed at home all day. And that evening, I basically promised a friend of mine that I would have dinner with him. And when I commit to something, I always follow through with commitments. And I only had my ute or my motorbike. And where I was going, in Potts Point, there's no parking. And I just remember I jumped on my motorbike and I thought I'd just go there quickly and come back. Yeah, so it was an eerie evening. Like it felt a little bit different that evening. It was really crazy. I remember there was a big full moon in the sky. And so I just jumped on my motorbike and I was riding up Old South Head Road in Bellevue Hill, and I made a right-hand turn into Victoria Road. And as I turned right, I was like, I've never gone this way before. This is so weird. I've gone this way. And then up ahead on my left, there was basically a station wagon waiting at an apartment building. And the driver he looked like he was going to make a right, but he had no lights on, no indicator on. He was just sitting there waiting. And he had a lot of time to turn, and he'd never turned. And as a motorbike rider, what we do is we see a potential threat, we slow down, but it's a very low level threat because he had so much time to turn. And then as we approach, we accelerate past it. And as I accelerated, I'm looking at him, and he slammed on the accelerator.
Mm.
And, there was nothing I could do. It was too close, too fast. All I could do was brace myself for the impact. And he T-boned me. So he hit my leg. And I just felt a breaking feeling in my body. I actually never felt any pain. It was really weird. And then he slammed on the brakes and he pushed my bike skidding onto the other side of the road. And I could see a car coming to run me over. It was really, really crazy. And the headlights. And it was the moment which impacted me the most, probably in that whole journey, was I thought I was going to die.
Mm.
My bike was going down. Those headlights running towards me and run me over. And I thought my life was over. And shockingly, my whole life was in front of me. But the feeling of dying was actually a really calm feeling. I just thought I started seeing all the good things that I've done in my life.
Mm.
And it was like I was ready to die, and the car missed me. And the second it missed me, I had to get off the bike, and I just slid with all my might, landed on my helmet, shattered my helmet. And second I touched down on the ground, I was out of danger, and I was in the worst pain of my life.
Wow.
I was just screaming from pain. And you don't know, I thought maybe I broken my neck, but you just don't know where the damage is. You do a body assessment, to see a stock take. And I knew that my leg was severely broken. My foot was all the way kind of out, and I had blood streaming out of my leg. And I waited for 20 minutes on the side of the road for an ambulance. It was it was rush hour traffic. So, yeah.
It sounds still quite difficult to talk about. How long ago was this? It was about 5 years ago now.
Yeah, so that was 5 years ago. Definitely still is a little bit difficult to talk about. The biggest moment was for me on the ground when I was lying there. I couldn't believe that the day before I'd beat my running record. One day before I beat my running, and I was just at the peak of my fitness. And I couldn't believe that in 1 second that my life can just change forever. And it's a good lesson. All of our lives can change forever. We all think we're going on one path, and then, the unexpected occurs. And then all of a sudden, we're on another path. The script changes. Absolutely. And that's a lesson in life for me,
You sounded like you had quite a few intuitive messages in the lead up to that accident actually happening. Do you listen to your intuition? I mean, you stayed home that day, so you were listening to your body, you were listening to your intuition, but it was just that one moment where you did go out and you made that turn that you'd never made. Is it something that you zone into more now, the intuitive side of you?
Yeah, I think that all of us have a very intuitive side. We also have our brains, and our brain usually takes over from our intuition because we always look for logic. Every person looks for logic. And for me, when I do business, for instance, I try to use my intuition a lot. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a lot of businesses. I can see the best business deal. But when I meet a person and I sit in front of them, and it could be the best deal, I'm going to make double my money in 3 years. But if I sit in front of someone, I get bad feeling from it or bad intuition from this deal, I will pull out of the deal, and I won't use my head. I use all my logic. So I feel like that day, everything was telling me, just take it easy, stay at home. But in another way, I was so prepared for that accident in terms of my health and my fitness. I would never have recovered the way that I have if I wasn't so healthy leading into it. I believe that in life, nothing is random. Everything happens for a reason, and everything is meant to be. I mean, we could change our destiny, but some things we're drawn to. And that was one of the things. You know what? As bad as it was, today I look back and I see that's the best experience of my life. Hands
It's amazing.
down.
That's why you're so interesting. So from the day the accident happened, what did the next few years look like for you?
Lucky you asked, step by step, we'll be here for a very long time. But just to give you a quick rundown, I had to have 8 operations over 3.5 years. 7 of them failed me. I spent hundreds of days in and out of hospitals. I'd lay in a bed for most of the journey for more than 20 hours a day for a lot of the time. So I'm only up for 4 hours a day. I had pain, chronic pain for 3 years, so bad that to get up now and to go get a drink of water, I would be in the worst amount of pain. It would make me cry sometimes. Or to have a shower and get dressed, I would have to go back to bed again. And chronic pain is a very riddling feeling. And it's something which I explain to people which don't have pain. You need to be so compassionate for people which do have pain, because life is so much harder for you, you know. And I lived like that for 3 years. I couldn't walk unassisted without a walking stick or crutches for over 3 years, or I was in a wheelchair. I got a golden staph infection as I healed. I just got better. And I was finally at the end of my journey. And I got a golden staph infection, which set me back to the start. And I had to do 200 days of the most aggressive antibiotics. 84 was through a PICC line in my arm, 24 hours a day with 14,000 milligrams of one of the most ferocious antibiotics in the world. More and more, I had post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, loneliness. It was hard because every time you have an operation, before an operation, I got hope. And then you're going into this journey where you know this, what you're going to have to suffer. When I have an operation, they don't just operate a little bit. They will restructure my whole leg. It's a 6-month recovery. It's at least 2 to 3 weeks in hospital. Then I go to a rehab hospital for another 2 to 3 weeks. I got to learn how to walk again every time. But I go back to zero where I can't even lift my leg up. And having to go into that amount of pain 8 times, it really wires you in a certain way, you know, and it's very mentally tough having to get your hopes high and then to fail, and hopes high and then to fail. But basically, to keep going my story, then I got osteomyelitis, which is an infection in the bone. And then my whole part of the top of my knee, which is my fibula, collapsed, as well as the bottom of my knee, which was from the accident, had collapsed. And my whole leg was just basically falling apart. Had 2 first in the world operations. So I had a long journey. Yeah.
How did you keep your mindset strong when you had so many issues go wrong, so many things go wrong through your operations? And, you know, you said you were feeling amazing just before an operation and felt hopeful, and then that didn't go right. And you'd have to sort of build your mindset back up into a positive state again. How did you do that over time so consistently?
Yeah. I think so. There's a few points there that I want to flesh out. But first of all, the biggest thing with a mindset, when you're going through something as tough as that, the biggest thing is everything is a choice in life, and you realize that, right? I never chose to get hit by the car. I never chose for operations to fail, but I did have the choice in the way that I dealt with it, you know. And for me, I would try to find, you know, it was survival mode a lot of the time, but I would try to find small things that make me really happy in my life, you know, so that give me pleasure. It can be as simple as having a cup of coffee. When you're in hospital, having a cup of coffee, or getting up and going for a walk, or seeing friends. I know I love watching documentaries. I always kept myself busy. I always, when I was at my worst, you know, I came up with 5-year plans. I did websites. I learned how to tie 7 essential knots. I learned how to meditate. I never wasted one moment of time. And I never gave myself ever the option of feeling sorry for myself or giving up. Never. And we have to be very conscious of that. Our mind wants to go a certain way, but you say to your mind, no, let's do it this way. And that was one big thing for me. But one more thing that really helped me was something which I call fear delving. I used to be so scared of so many things in my life, right? And what I would do is, so one of them was, I'm so scared of losing my leg for this whole journey, right? But what I would do by the end of it was, I interviewed 3 people which had lost their legs. And I spoke to them about it. I did my homework, my due diligence. I'm a businessman. And I spoke to them about what their life is like, what they're able to do, what they're not able to do, type of electronic leg that they have. And you know what? I realized I worry so much, and it wasn't half as bad as I worried about. So what am I worrying about? They're doing way better than I was doing. And I just stopped worrying.
That's really interesting. You let go of that fear.
Completely let go of the fear, because I knew what I was worrying about didn't exist. And I looked into it. Yeah. So they're just some of my tips.
Oh, they really make you think for a long time. I love them. Well, I've seen you walking now. I've seen you on stage. You look like you're out of pain. What were the next steps that happened in your life?
So it was funny. I was like drawn into this 4-year journey, and I fought so hard. As I said, I've done 2 first in the world operations, which people were telling me were impossible. And at the end, I got that staph infection. At the end of 2.5 years of fighting and struggle, and something clicked in my mind. You know what? For the first time in my life, I was able to let go. I'm always so controlling of everything. And I thought, you know what? I can't control it. Let go, and what will be, will be. I'll just try my best to overcome it, and what will be, will be. And I had one more operation to beat this infection, which it turned to osteomyelitis, which is an infection in the bone. Now, a golden staph infection, a lot of people die from it. Mine wasn't a deadly one, but where it had gotten into the bone, they've got to chop out that bone. And I had one more chance of beating it, and the odds were against me because I came back again. And they tried everything. So if I had come back, I was going to get a leg amputation. And amazingly, I overcame it. I just got better and better and better and better after that whole journey. And my recovery from that point on, so after 3 years, has been very just killed it all the way through. And coming out of being unwell for so long, it's really funny. I never stopped living my life, but I had to kind of live life on the sidelines because I had to have so many operations and had to go through so much struggle that when you have your life back, it's really ramped up my life just to step up the ante.
Mm. You almost see it taken away from you. So you have a responsibility to yourself to make the most of every day.
100%. And the last point on that accident was when I did get hit by the car and I was pushed in that traffic and I thought I was going to die. It wasn't the thought of me dying that scared me later, but I was actually haunted by that. If I did die, there were so many things in my life that I put off doing or that I just said I'd do later. And when I got better, and even when I was sick, I really chased down all those things,
Yeah. I mean, I'm listening to you now and writing a list in my head of all the things I want to do. And I can imagine everyone else out there feeling the same way. But you ended up getting a knee transplant, and that led you in a whole other direction. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So basically my leg was really bad. It was in my first year and it had collapsed, and it collapsed. And there was a good chance that I was going to lose my leg. There was a metal plate. They didn't know how much damage was underneath it. And I'd chosen to rather explore that avenue to try to find the best people in the world, and everything that we do in the world, there are masters out there, and whatever you want to achieve in your life, it's best to find the best people in that field, and go under their wing. And I never take no for an answer. I'm a very stubborn person. I see different things that other people see, and I just go for it. In my mind, things make different sense to me than what other people do. And I researched the 6 best knee surgeons in the world, and 5 out of the 6, I used a doctor friend of mine in LA, 5 out of the 6 said that they would not touch my case because my leg was too far off being fixed. And the best in the world, he was in Hanover, Germany. His name's Professor Christian Kretek, and he said 5 operations in 6 months, and I'll have a go. And I was like, wow, you're giving me hope. We all need hope, right? And right before I went over there, he surprised me with the first in the world graft of a knee transplant using 3D software technology. And basically, the second time I did it, it was from a young boy. And he had died in a car crash. He was with his mum, and a truck came around the corner, killed the mum instantly. The boy went to hospital on life support, and his father allowed him to become a donor. When I was in hospital, I met or heard of 7 other people, all who got organs and tissue from this young boy. And I was so blown away that someone in their death can give life to so many people. And I just wanted to give back and to help as well. So I wrote a letter to the father, which is the only way we could communicate. Now, I didn't want to write a letter because what do you write to someone who's lost everything? And I wrote a letter. Do you want me to read you the letter, actually? I've got it right here.
I'd love you
You
to
want to
read
do
us a
that?
letter.
How much time do we have?
We have enough time for you to read us a letter
Okay.
and talk for
Okay.
another 2 hours if you like.
Okay. Okay. Um, okay, here we go. I got it right here. So, dear sir, I find it very hard to write to you as no words can express how sorry I was to hear about your loss and how grateful I am for the opportunity that your blessed son has granted me. I wanted to take this opportunity to explain a little of my story with you and the impact your son will have on my life. 27 months ago, I was riding on my motorbike and out of nowhere and no fault of my own, I was hit by a car which had severely broken my leg in multiple places as well as shattering my knee. Before this surgery, I've had 4 others, all of which had failed me, and have left me in severe chronic pain and made my quality of life very bad. I was unable to walk, and all of the simple things in life left me riddled in huge amounts of pain. This pain pretty much dictated my life, and even though I did not stop living and working, life is very tough with one leg and chronic pain. I can never repay your son for the great deed he has done, but if you allow me, I'd love to honor his spirit. I build schools in very impoverished countries for young children your child's age. The schools give these children an opportunity to change their lives and not follow in their parents' cycle of poverty. For most of these kids, if we did not build a school, they would need to start working from the age of 9. I would love to build a school in your son's honor, dedicating it to him so his memory can live on through every child that goes to that school. And if you ever ponder whether you made the right decision of allowing your son to be a donor, please know, as I lay in my hospital bed, I met or heard of at least 7 other people, mostly young, whom your son has helped. And all like my situation, we're all in very desperate. God bless him. May his spirit live on forever.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really emotional. Would have felt so beautiful to receive that, being in so much pain from losing his son. So that brings us to the Harkangel Foundation, actually, and you've built 8 out of 100 schools so far, which is in this child's honour. Tell us about the journey of the Harkangel Foundation.
Okay, so the journey for the Harkangel Foundation is I already had been involved in other people's school projects since 2013 in Kenya. And also I just worked a little bit in Myanmar. And I wrote that letter to the father. And I thought it'd be so nice to have a school in his son's honor. And I thought to do that, I'd start a wine to help me raise money for that school. And I had to think of a name for this young boy. And when I met all these other people, he was like an angel to me and to us, like an archangel. So I thought to call it Harkangel, the wine. And I raised the money for the first school. And we opened the school. And when I saw all the goodness that was coming out of the school, I was like, whoa, hold on a second. I found something here, an opportunity here. I'm a speaker, and in my keynote, I talk about something called a return on resilience, which is finding the opportunity in bad things that happen to us. And at that point, when I saw the goodness, I was like, there's an opportunity here. I found my return on my resilience, the return on all my hard work. And I thought, why stop at one school when I can create the Harkangel Foundation? And I thought, how many schools do I want to do? And as people, we always underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years, 15 years, and always overestimate what we can achieve in 1 or 2 years. And I thought, okay, 10 schools is a very lofty goal. It's a lot of schools, right? So I thought, in everything I do in my life since my accident, I times everything by 10. And I thought, let me just put 100 schools on. So our goal is to do 100 schools in the poorest places in the world, pretty much where the world has forgotten. And I travel to these places and I meet the communities and I meet the elders. And a lot of these people are so poor, they make $2 a day or $2.50 a day. They're farmers, that the kids have to start working, help the family survive, right? So they drop out of school at a very, very young age. What happens there is a kid gets pushed into a way of life. They fall straight back into their parents' cycle of poverty, and they can't choose their own lives. As an adult, we get to choose our own life. As a child, we don't. You can be born into slavery. You can be born into child labor. And basically what we do is we build a school in our community. We get all the community on board. We speak to the village, to the elders. A lot of times if there's no bore water, then you're building them a school. It's an insult. So it's important that we're on the ground and we know what they need, what they want. And they have to really want the school. They've got to put in a percentage in labor and materials. They've got to donate the land for the school. And I make them sign this document saying, an agreement saying that they want to send their children there. And what happens is they realize that if a kid can go through to the end of university, they can make $50 a day, $100 a day, rather than $2 a day. And we teach them. It's an education process, not only for the children, but for the whole community. And once we're in that community, when I'm at the opening ceremony, which you're going to see next year, Maritza, because you're coming with me.
I am coming. I'm so excited to be a part of it. I'm so excited. It's just, I'm bringing my whole family along, and we are joining your journey on building your 9th school and opening that up and meeting this community and being involved in this. And I'm beyond thrilled to be a part of it. I think what you're doing is exceptional. So if I can do anything to help, I'm definitely going to put my hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we can't wait to have you guys. But yeah, so basically, if the kids aren't in school, they're starting to work, and we get them to agree that they will keep their kids in school and they really want to. And, I tell them we're now a family, me and the community. I'll visit them 2 or 3 times a year. My workers will go there at least 4 times a year. We speak to them all the time, and we're all on the same team, which is an amazing thing. And the level that we're able to help is unbelievable. We just got our stats back. And when Harkangel puts a school in, the growth of attendance goes up by 25% in the second year. So we're getting kids which are working back into school.
Yeah.
And, these are kids with nothing. They've got no opportunity in their lives. They're in these villages. So just so you understand, there's no running water. There's no electricity. A lot of them have never seen a foreigner before. There's no toilets. There's no showers. And these kids have no opportunity. So you give someone a little bit of something. They're so hungry for some difference and for some change in their lives, which we give them, and they'll take it a mile,
Well, if anyone else wants to be involved, the website's harkangel.org, and you can donate and get involved in what Richie's doing and get him to 100 schools and building 100 schools in communities that really need our help. But I really wanted to talk about what you touched on earlier. And so many of us in business life and financial pressures, we always look at ROI, which is a return on investment, but you talked about return on resilience. And I really want to delve into that deeper and what that means and what that can mean to everyone listening.
Yes, I own 4 different businesses. So whenever we look at a business deal, I always say, okay, what's my return on my investment going to be? What's my ROI going to be? How much cash am I going to be able to take out of this investment? So I came up with this concept, and it's called a return on resilience. So resilience, as you know, is about bouncing back. A return on resilience is finding the opportunity in bad things that happen to us. So I say, what's my ROI? What return can I get out of my experiences? Why waste an experience when you can actually get something out of it, right? And not only do we find an opportunity in all of our hard work, because in a crisis, there's always going to be a gift, but it's our job to find a gift. And in anything that happens to us, whether it's good or bad, we can make it good by the meaning that we put on it, right? So I always tend to look for either a goodness or an opportunity that could come out of something. And I built up a framework called Kadima, which can lead you to find that goodness or that opportunity, or you can get resilience out of it, right? So in your ROI, your return on resilience, you can get more resilience, and you keep growing to be resilient for when you really need it. Because being resilient is actually a muscle. I love to do something. People call me really weird, but I set myself up for failure.
You do think differently.
I will consciously want to fail in things. When for me, it's very easy to succeed in things. I will walk into something which I know is impossible, and I'll still go for it just so I can fail. And when I fail maybe 15, 20 times, I reward myself. In our lives today, Maritza, we are so scared of failure and judgment. But the issue is, if you're scared to fail in your life, you can never get anywhere. It's all about failing. my whole life has been set up by failing. It looks like I've achieved so much so easily, but it's bullshit. I've failed and failed and failed and failed and failed to get to where I want to be. And that is the secret to the biggest success in life.
And you know what? People don't talk about their failures as much as they talk about their successes. So I think it's so important that you raise that conversation, because I've failed a million times as well. Absolutely. But it's the wins that come out of it that are the things that change us. And you are talking about this wherever you go, and I absolutely love it. And banking resilience, what a great concept. Now, if you could talk to anyone out there, talk to everyone out there, you are on the biggest stage and you wanted to share a message to people in their lives before they go through this heartache, before they go through this, this dark moment in their lives, what would you say to them? How would you teach us to grow before we hit that dark moment in our lives?
And the message that I would share with everyone is just to be very conscious that in life, we're all going to die. Every single one of us are going to die. So start living your life right now. You don't have to go through the depths of hell to start living an amazing life. And it starts with gratitude and compassion, just to be grateful for what we have. I think that in life, we all focus on everything we need and don't have, especially with social media. We sit there on our phones and we flick through everyone's amazing lives when we think we need that in our lives. Well, actually, it's about what we already do have and being grateful for that. And all of us struggle with that. I'd say sit down every day. And I mean, it's talked about a lot, but try to think about 3 things that you're grateful for in life, or people that you're grateful for. You live a much more happy life.
Oh, absolutely. Consciously being grateful has been the biggest thing that has changed my perspective on life. I totally agree with you. And there's a lot of big things coming for you in the future, and I can just see what a wonderful heart you have. But I wanted to ask you one last question. What lights you up? What sets your soul on fire as a person? I know it's a huge question, and I'm throwing it out there to you, but I'm really intrigued by your mind and how you think, and I'd love to know what really lights you up.
I think when I help other people, when I see someone else being happy, when I see a child who's down and out, and I see their journey over a long period of time, and I see them get a chance and get their life back on track, and I see them smile, that really makes me so happy in my heart. And it can be in everyday life. When I see a woman or an older person who's struggling to carry their bags and their shopping bags to the car, and I can go and help them, and I can speak to them for a minute, and I just see them smile. And I take a moment out of my life to help someone, it makes me feel really, really happy.
It's such a good point, Richie, because a lot of people out there would be listening to you and thinking, oh, I don't have the capacity to do what he's done. But it doesn't have to be to that level. It doesn't have to be to that extreme. We can all share kindness in such small ways by smiling at someone, carrying their bags, asking them how their day was, just being a good human to everyone and being kind all the time.
100%. 100%. And that is the meaning of Archangel. It's not only about building, schools. We've got 1,500 kids in our schools. It's not only about everyone can make a difference in this world by one act of kindness for somebody else. And I really push that in. I have a section in my charity which I emphasize a lot. It's called Archangels, and it's kids that I come across in my journey from really extraordinarily bad circumstances. And I make a commitment to them from where they are to the end of university. And that one child has more meaning to me than a whole school, because you're invested in their lives. So it's about that one person. If you change one person's life, it's as if you're changing the whole world, because every single person is a whole wide world.
Exactly.
Last night I actually doing what I do, sometimes we get bad news. And I got some bad news yesterday, a boy, which I put a lot of time into. I actually made a documentary on him. When I met him, he was 10 years old. His name's Ty. And one of his sisters got killed in an electrical fire. He lives in Myanmar. He lives in a slum. Another sister's blind, had to be sent away from the family. his father's deaf, he can't get work, and the mother runs a laundromat from a house. And this young boy, when I met him, he was working in a slum bar, and he was working 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, at the age of 11 years old for $20 US a month. And it broke my heart to see this kid, because I got to know him and I spent a day with him, and I made a documentary, which I'll give to you to share with your followers. And it's a day in the life of Ty, and he works so hard, 15 hours a day, and his whole life is just for other people. And I got to meet his mom and his family, and it's not that they don't want him to work, they just can't afford to. And we got him out of there and back into school. And it's actually on your trip, the first place that we usually visit is we go to the slum and we see how they live and we meet their family, and people are just so in shock, because it's a bit of whoa, where am I? And you get to hear their story of their life, and their lives are really, really hard. The mum is an amazing woman. I just got really bad news yesterday. This young boy has been sent away and is working in China somewhere.
No.
He's 13 years old.
They just couldn't make ends meet. They couldn't make it happen.
They can't make ends meet. But I'm pretty upset about it. And I'm going to go there and I'm going to try to pull him back out of it. But that's the reality of life. And my lesson here is that life is hard for everybody, and life is not perfect. I've tried my best in this situation. I failed to get this boy on the right track in a way, but we have to try our best. And I'm going to go back there and I'm going to try to pull him out.
You are in fact an angel, Richie, I think.
Not at all.
You are to many people. Thank you so very much for being part of this show, and I really look forward to sharing more of what you're doing when I do join you with my family on the trip next year in April. If you want to follow Richie, his website is richieharkham.com, and again, the Harkangel Foundation is harkangel.org. Thank you again, Richie.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I love to hear from all of our listeners. So let's keep the conversation going. Let me know what you thought of Richie and this episode and his amazing resilient story. You can find me on Instagram at Things You Can't Unhear, and also my personal page at Maritza_Barone. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the show and leave us a rating and review. And remember, be happy, be healthy, be conscious, and be kind.